Before I start this, I want to make something clear. I don't want this to be a little YouTuber bubble sort of thing where everyone agrees with me and we all move on. I want this to be productive. If you're thinking for yourself and you disagree with anything that I have to say, come down into the comments. Let's have a discussion. I want you to try to change my mind. I'm going to try to change your mind. I don't want to hear arguments like, haha, you're bad at the game. That's not an argument. I want to have a serious discussion and I want to come to some sort of conclusion, and I want this to be productive. So please, think for yourself. If you like me as a content creator, do me a favor and have a discussion with me. If you disagree with what I have to say, I would love to hear it. And I genuinely mean that too. Okay, let's begin. What is going on, guys? It is Jed. Today we're going to be talking about something that I'm very excited to talk about. It's Fortnite's dying. Why is it dying, and why does that make me so happy? Now, before I start, I want to make it clear that Fortnite is the #1 game out right now, and it's going to be that way for a little bit. And I also don't like it when games fail, because it's one less game that I can enjoy. But when you have a company that does everything in their power to appeal and design game mechanics around the most casual players in existence, which, by the way, are the same types of players that will enjoy any environment that you put them in as long as they have their friends and don't care about game mechanics. That is my overhanging point, but I'm going to go into detail. I'm going to explain what I mean when I say that. I've been preaching this from day one, and people are just now starting to catch on. So let's back up. Let's go to the beginning of my Fortnite experience. I started playing Fortnite 4 to 5 days after it came out, way before it blew up. Ever since my first play session, I've been very critical of this game, saying things that I still agree with to this day. Like, for example, why is Bloom still in the game 9 months after release, when it should have been hotfixed out of the game week 1? So, to start this list off, the biggest problem in Fortnite, in my personal opinion, is Bloom. I do not like the idea that it doesn't matter how good you are at aiming. It doesn't matter how good you are at tracking. Your aim is determined by a random number generator. You might hit the shot, you might miss the shot. It's completely determined by something completely out of your control. From a gameplay perspective, this is a god-awful mechanic and should not belong in any shooter that you compete with other players. That is borderline objective. Every single person watching this video right now should agree with that statement. It is a bad gameplay mechanic to have luck be more important when it comes to winning a gunfight than skill. But for some reason, I don't think I will ever understand. Epic Games and the Fortnite community seem to think that this is okay. I go on the forums, there's not a soul talking about Bloom. Matter of fact, all I see is people begging for some of the most pointless stuff like event exclusive skins or refunds. I remember that was going on for a long time. How about perfecting the core gameplay first before we worry about refunding something that you intentionally clicked on but regretted it? There are also some things that I don't agree with that I've said in the past. I've altered my opinions. I used to think building was a problem in this game and that it should be looked at. The building mechanics in this game are hurting it. I no longer agree that building should be adjusted. After seeing big streamers master building and properly demonstrate the skill gap that it offers, I quickly went to master it myself because I fell in love with the idea of Fortnite utilizing skill-based mechanics. Building used to be okay due to not many people building at the time. The game was still pretty new at the time that I had mastered building. This means when I get eliminations, I'm going to get more mats. When less people are building, they're stockpiling mats, they're not using them. I had more mats. I could utilize this skill gap as I see fit to potentially beat someone who might not be as good as I am. Fast forward 6 months, late season 3 to current, everyone's building. It's common knowledge at this point to be building. Even the really bad players that don't even know how to build are attempting to build and utilize the skill gap. All this means is when you get eliminations, there are less mats being distributed every game. Less mats means less of an opportunity to utilize the skill gap. I'm pretty sure it goes without saying that Fortnite just needs more materials. Blitz was a beautiful thing. Blitz V1, mind you. Blitz V2 was a flop. It went from like what, 150% material gathering to only like 50%. Like little things like this tell me that Epic doesn't like skill-based mechanics in their game because they're trying so hard to appeal to people that have literally never touched video games before in their lives. As made apparent by the most recent patches, Epic is doing everything they can to nerf the build shoddy meta, but they're being very subtle about it. They want to be careful because they're fully aware that full-blown reworks to the core gameplay mechanics will kill the game on the spot. My example of this? H1Z1. This is what happens when you abuse your core gameplay mechanics and constantly adjust it based on feedback. You never touch the core gameplay mechanics. And Epic isn't. They're fully aware that they shouldn't do that, but they're trying their best to nerf it in every other way they can. For example, changing llamas from 500 to 200, floor loot from 30 to 20. They don't want you to build. They don't want you to utilize the only skill gap the game has to offer. But they're not going to change it. They're not going to change how it works, but they just don't want you doing it. Why? Because it makes it really hard on the new players to get in and enjoy themselves when they're being outplayed. Which sounds good for business. It's smart for business. Getting more players into the game and enjoying it. That's great. But how scummy is that? To slap your dedicated players in the face because they're too good at the game. This is why Epic was interested in adding skill-based matchmaking. They wanted to keep the new players away from the good players so they would stay and invest in their product. That's not how gaming is supposed to work. If you're not good at something, you can't go into it expecting to be the best. If you do that with Fortnite and you quit because of that, that's your loss. You don't punish the players that took the time to get good at the game because the new players aren't able to compete with them. What you do is you add a training ground for the new players to get in and really learn the mechanics so they can compete with those that are way ahead of them. Or another approach that Epic has actually done, you could add limited time modes that keep the good players away from the bad players by not tracking stats and leaving the good players not interested in that mode. Do you see what I'm saying? Hopefully the point I'm trying to make is clear by now. At every turn, Epic is trying to base their game around incredibly casual players that don't really play very well. And that's cool. Casual players should be taken into consideration. They should be able to enjoy the game and have fun with it. But why is it at the expense of the players that are playing because they're good at the game? Another reason that Fortnite is beginning to struggle is because the community is pulling the game in so many different directions and Epic listens to their community. Half of them want shotguns nerfed into the ground. The other half don't want them being touched. I personally don't want them touched because, as you can probably tell by the first half of this video, I dislike things that involve luck rather than skill. For example, literally any other close-range weapon in the game. The only reason I use and enjoy shotguns is because they're consistent. Even at point blank, SMGs have a chance to miss your target and you can miss out on damage, and that adds up quickly. Why would I, under any circumstance, use a bloom-based weapon when I can use a shotgun that's going to guarantee damage based on my aim? There really is no reason, and it's a shame that half of the community is trying to push this game into a bloom-based submachine gun or AR meta. It is disgusting, and they don't understand what they're doing to the game. The game will die if this game turns into an AR fight meta, where the luckier person wins. Is that really what you want? You would prefer a bloom-based meta that is based solely on luck and then skill over a build shoddy meta. Don't get me wrong, I don't think the shotgun is the most skill-demanding weapon in the game, but it's consistent. The bullet goes where you tell it to go, and that's important to winning a fight. I don't like AR spamming. I don't like sub spamming. I don't like most of the weapon roster. The only guns I like are the pump shotgun and the scoped AR, because aim is the determining factor over luck. That's why I only play with those guns. Shoddy build meta is not my preferred meta. If I had the choice to build this game from the ground up, I would make it AR focused, projectiles, bullet drop. I would make it similar to the sniper. Imagine shooting AR projectiles like the sniper. You gotta lead your shots. You have to aim higher than the target if you want to hit them and they're far away. Like, that's how I would base this. I would basically make Fortnite preseason 3 H1Z1. Like that, I know it's opinion, but I want to say it's just an objective statement. Preseason 3 H1Z1 was the best BR to ever exist, period. Recoil patterns were super easy to learn for new players. It made the game easy to get into, but the good players, the players that had been around for a while, they still had the advantage because of game knowledge. They knew the map. They knew the bullet drop. They knew how to seat swap. They knew how to drop shot. Like, it was all there. It was the perfect BR, and I would base Fortnite around that if I wanted to focus on skill-based mechanics, while allowing casual players to also enjoy their time there, because the game is easy to learn. It's easy to get into. H1Z1 now, it's not easy to learn. It's not easy to get into. I guarantee you, if you've never played H1Z1 before and you download that and attempt to play it, you are going to get destroyed. That was a little bit of a tangent, but my closing statement is Epic, if you want to nerf the building meta, if you want to nerf the shoddy meta, add consistent skill-based mechanics elsewhere in the game. The game will not survive without building, and it will not survive without shotguns. Very specific reason these two are used, and it's for those reasons. I'm sure you can come up with a player-friendly way that's not frustrating to die by, that can satisfy both crowds. Anyways, that's all I have. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in my next video. Peace out, everybody.